Hi everybody, and today you find Lynn and I out on our adventures, and we are in a place called All Saints Churchyard in Lower Weald, is it?
Lower Weald.
Lower Weald, yeah, which is a part of the parish of Calverton in Buckinghamshire. And today we are here at the churchyard, sheltering from the wind, which would affect the microphone, and we've come on the search for the murder and the ghost of Mrs. Grace Bennett, who used to live in Calverton Manor behind us, which is now Manor Farm. So anyway, I'm going to tell you the story of the murder and what happened after the murder and about the ghost in a minute when I go for a little walk round, see if I can get a sneaky peep at the manor, which is all walled up and locked up, and you can't really see anything. It's a private dwelling, so I don't want to go too nosy around, but it is quite an interesting story, isn't it, Lynn?
It certainly is.
So we're going to do that. We thought we'd do that because we knew this was on the way to our place we're going for lunch. So anyway, I'll go for a little walk round, try and tell you the story. Probably be on a voiceover because the wind is very strong today. Would you believe it? Absolutely boiling all week. The week we come out, dull as anything and windy. But anyway, I'll see you later. Bye-bye. So this is the Church of All Saints in Lower Weald, which I've heard goes back to the Doomsday and William Conqueror's times. It has had a lot of things done to it in the intervening years, but what I like about it is right next to the place where I'm wanting to do the story today, which is Manor Farm, which used to be Calverton Manor, which is as I say, right bang next. So let's have a look and I'll tell you the story of what happened to Grace Bennett. Now, I don't know how much I'm going to get to see of Manor Farm itself, but as you can see in the background there it is. I'll put some photos off of what a fantastic building it is. And it was actually on telly in 2011. I can't remember the programme, but I will look back and find out. So, who was Grace Bennett? Well, Grace Bennett was the widow of Simon Bennett, and she took over the manor house here in Lower Weald when he died. Now, she was apparently a bit of a tyrant. She was horrible to her staff and horrible to anybody in particular. In fact, if you were found poaching on her land, you were given a severe beating by her gamekeepers. So much so that she wanted to test that her gamekeepers were really doing their job. So she went out one night dressed as a poacher and found out just how they treated the poachers. And she was given a really good beating. She did their job properly. It was also said that she had a lot of money stashed in the house somewhere. And this was known, or supposedly known, by a lot of people outside the village and in the village. And it came to the attention of a butcher in Stony Stratford called Alan Barnes. Now, on the 19th of September 1694, being at home alone, Grace Bennett, because she was too tight to actually pay for servants to stay over in the evening, she was down in the servants' quarters when said butcher, Alan Barnes, broke in and tried to get information of where she kept her money, which in the end led to him cutting her throat, and with her having nobody to shout to for help or anything like that, she died. Now, it is said that the legend goes in British folklore that Barnes was caught very quickly, and he was, as is done in them times, he was hanged and gibbeted near to where the offence took place. And the offence took place inside the servants' quarters, and he was hung and gibbeted in irons on a wall outside a barn in a place called Gibbeting, which adjoined the manor house. And apparently, you can't get in to see it because I think Gibbeting is part of the actual manor grounds. There are two bricks or stones set into the barn built onto the wall that show a hangman's gibbet and also the date. So that is true. Grace's ghost is seen in the servants' quarters now at the manor. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a picture of the manor from where I am, or even if I walk down there. So I will put some pictures up because it's an amazing place, and there are some really good pictures of it. So I will try and do my best. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit. Hi everybody, since I made this video I've found out quite a bit more about this story, so I thought I'd pop on and give you an update. Firstly, Grace Bennett was not just plain old Mrs. Bennett. She was in fact the widow of Sir Simon Bennett, which made her a lady. Lady Bennett no less. And on top of that, she was the mother of the Countess of Salisbury. But she was still apparently a ghastly, miserly old lady who was often to be found up in front of the local magistrates for non-payment of wages, not paying bills, etc. She apparently had a fortune of £60,000, which was a huge amount of money in the 17th century, and an annual income of £4,000, of which she only spent about £100 yearly. Her bedroom was up in the old servants' quarters, only accessible by a ladder, which once she was up there in her room, she would pull up the said ladder so nobody else could enter. Now, of course, rumours circulated that she kept her fortune in that room, and this came to the attention of a Stony Stratford butcher called Adam Barnes, not Alan, as I earlier stated in the video, and he decided to find out for himself, so he broke in. He was reportedly captured after being seen by a thresher trying to escape over the rear wall. He bribed the said thresher with £5 to keep quiet about seeing him. Now, this presumably only worked until the recipient of the bribe hurried down to the local pub with his new silver coin, where after a couple of beers he told anyone who would listen his story. Of course, the house was then searched and the body of Lady Grace was discovered. But in the report I read, her throat had not been cut, but her neck had been broken so severely that her head was facing backwards. Now, imagine that ghost coming towards you in a dark room in the servants' quarters. Adam Barnes was arrested shortly afterwards with 4 accomplices in Beechampton Grove. Barnes was convicted of murder and sentenced to death in a room above the Cross Keys pub in Stony Stratford. He was taken to Gib Lane in Calverton and hanged and then hung in chains to rot on the outside of the orchard wall outside the manor, where can be seen a stone some 3 feet off the ground with 2 crudely carved gibbets and the date 1693. As Grace Bennett's murder was not until 1694, we can assume the execution of Adam Barnes was not the first time this location was used. But the butcher really did hang there. confirmed by Celia Fiennes, a sort of 17th century Alan Wicker, who recorded on her tour around England on a donkey for her travellogue that, quote, "and by the rich Mrs. Bennet's house, remarkable for her covetousness," that's a mouthful, "which was the cause of her death. Her treasures tempted a butcher to cut her throat, who hangs in chains against her house." Now, the ghosts of both spirits are reported to haunt the old servants' quarters. Apparently, little changed since the time of the murder, and now used as storage space. Also, apparently, there was a stone in the wall in the servants' quarters that was stained red, and the stain would not go away however much it was cleaned. Eventually, the stone was removed and was found to have a red vein all the way through it. Well, if you've got this far, and I'm sorry for the waffle, but if you did find the story of interest, please give it a thumbs up. It really does help. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye for now.